Rick Harisson, the charismatic and shrewd businessman who once stood at the pinnacle of reality television stardom through his hit show Pawn Stars, has become a symbol of how success built on shaky foundations can collapse in spectacular fashion. For years, Rick's sharp eye for valuable artifacts, combined with his warm, everyman demeanor, made him a beloved figure in households around the world. His Las Vegas pawn shop became a mecca for history buffs, collectors, and fans of the show, drawing in millions of viewers eager to see Rick negotiate deals and uncover hidden treasures. But behind the lights, cameras, and smiles, trouble was brewing. A perfect storm of personal failings, questionable business practices, and the darker side of fame. On the surface, Rick's empire seemed unstoppable. He had transformed a modest family pawn shop into a global phenomenon, built not only on rare finds and engaging TV moments, but also on the sheer force of his personality. However, fame and fortune have a way of magnifying cracks beneath the surface. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder over the years. Accusations of shady deals, allegations of unethical practices, and rumors of partnerships that were far from honest. These issues, once dismissed as idle gossip, began to take on a life of their own, ultimately unraveling the very fabric of the empire Rick had worked so hard to build. The collapse wasn't sudden. It was a slow, inevitable decline brought on by years of small compromises. Those compromises snowballed into larger issues, revealing a man who may have valued profit over principle. While fans marveled at the treasures displayed on TV, insiders whispered about the shadowy dealings required to keep the pawn shop's reputation afloat. Ex-partners and employees, once fiercely loyal, began to turn against him, citing experiences of betrayal and mismanagement. These revelations were a bitter pill for the public, who had adored Rick's calm and confident leadership. His personal life didn't fare much better. Off-screen, Rick's relationships were as tumultuous as his business ventures. Allegations of infidelity, power struggles, and toxic interactions eroded the bonds with those closest to him. The man who once appeared to have it all, a thriving career, a loyal fan base, and a close-knit family, was now at the center of a media frenzy, struggling to hold the pieces together. While Pawn Stars had thrived on drama in the pawn shop, the real drama was unfolding in Rick's private world, far from the cameras. The carefully cultivated image of a savvy, affable businessman was replaced by a portrait of a man caught in a web of his own making. As the empire teetered on the brink of collapse, it became clear that Rick had been navigating treacherous waters for far longer than anyone realized. His dealings with less than reputable figures and willingness to bend the rules created a house of cards that couldn't withstand the scrutiny of the law or the public. Rumors of lawsuits, unpaid debts, and questionable financial practices swirled, painting a picture of a businessman who had lost control. The pawn shop, once a bustling hub of commerce and fame, became a symbol of decline, a sinking ship unable to escape its own weight. The turning point came when Rick found himself in court, facing allegations that could no longer be swept under the rug. His sentence marked the culmination of years of recklessness and greed, tarnishing his legacy forever. For the millions of fans who had cheered him on, it was a moment of disillusionment. The man who had embodied the American dream, a self-made entrepreneur who turned junk into treasure, was now a cautionary tale of how ambition can spiral into downfall. Critics and former allies alike pointed to greed as the root of Rick's problems. They claimed his relentless pursuit of profit and control alienated those around him, fostering an environment where trust and loyalty were eroded. Others argued that Rick simply failed to adapt to a changing world, relying on outdated tactics and relationships to keep his empire alive. As the cracks in his reputation grew, so did the backlash. Fans turned into skeptics, and supporters distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the growing controversy. The fallout was swift and unforgiving. Pawn Stars, once a juggernaut of reality TV, lost its luster, as the drama behind the scenes overshadowed the stories on screen. Rick's once stalwart image as a master negotiator and family man became marred by allegations of manipulation, betrayal, and greed. The public, who had invested in his story for over a decade, now saw him as a flawed figure, a man whose downfall was as dramatic as his rise. In the end, Rick Harrison's story is not just about a man who fell from grace, but also about the perils of fame and fortune. His empire, built on the premise of uncovering history, became a tragic piece of history itself, a case study in the fragility of success when integrity is compromised. The man who once dominated the pawn world and captivated audiences worldwide now stands as a cautionary tale, his story a somber reminder of how the pursuit of power, without regard for ethics, can lead to a legacy undone. Rick Harrison's story is a complex tapestry of triumph and tragedy, a cautionary tale of how ambition and fame, unchecked, can lead to devastating consequences. His rise to stardom was nothing short of extraordinary. From humble beginnings in a small Las Vegas pawn shop, he crafted an empire that captivated audiences across the globe. The hit reality show Pawn Stars turned Rick and his family into household names, with millions tuning in to witness their dealings, negotiations, and glimpses into history. Yet, the glitz and glamour of reality TV hid a darker truth, a series of missteps, betrayals, and controversies that would ultimately lead to his catastrophic fall. For years, Rick was celebrated as a savvy businessman and charismatic leader. His smooth-talking negotiation skills and quick wit gave the impression of a man in complete control, a calm and collected patriarch at the helm of a thriving empire. Fans were enamored by his charm, his ability to see value where others saw junk, and his commitment to preserving history through the treasures that passed through his doors. Behind this polished exterior, however, cracks in the foundation of his empire were beginning to appear. The courtroom drama that unfolded years later shocked his loyal fanbase and riveted the public. Rick Harrison, once the smiling face of Pawn Stars, now stood before a judge, facing a series of serious charges. These were not minor infractions or mistakes, but a litany of accusations that painted a far different picture of the man millions had come to admire. Fraud, insider trading, and financial misconduct were at the heart of the legal battle, and the evidence presented left little room for doubt. The man who had built his empire on trust and reputation now stood accused of betraying both. As the sentence was read, the gravity of the moment was unmistakable. This was not just the downfall of a man, it was the end of an era for a franchise that had become a cultural phenomenon. Rick's empire, once thriving on deals, drama, and dedication, was now collapsing under the weight of greed, poor judgment, and betrayal. The sentence, severe and final, underscored the idea that not even the most powerful figures are immune to accountability. It was a stark reminder that no amount of wealth or fame can shield one from the consequences of unethical decisions. What made Rick's fall all the more dramatic was the betrayal from those closest to him. Over the years, his business had been propped up not just by his personality, but by a team of employees, partners, and family members who supported him. Many of these individuals were instrumental in his success, yet as the legal and financial pressures mounted, those once loyal to him began to turn. Whispers of shady deals and unethical practices turned into public confessions, with former allies revealing the inner workings of Rick's empire. Damning evidence of financial impropriety and manipulation came to light, leaving Rick increasingly isolated. The very people who had helped him build his empire were now the ones ensuring its collapse. At the heart of Rick's empire lay his iconic pawn shop, portrayed as a treasure trove of historical artifacts and rare finds. But behind the scenes, the business dealings were far less transparent. Allegations of exploitation, backroom negotiations, and questionable partnerships began to surface, painting a picture of a business that thrived on manipulation rather than merit. Rick's ability to make deals had been his greatest asset, but it was also his greatest flaw. As the accusations piled up, it became evident that these deals were not always honest, and many were made at the expense of others. The toll extended far beyond Rick's professional life. His personal relationships also began to unravel, with accusations of infidelity, betrayal, and power struggles emerging. The same charm that captivated millions on television had failed to maintain harmony in his personal life. Rick's public persona as the calm and composed family man contrasted starkly with the chaos that was unfolding behind closed doors. The scandals were not just limited to the business. They revealed deep fissures in his personal life, adding fuel to the fire of his downfall. Fans who once admired Rick struggled to reconcile the man they saw on TV with the revelations about his private life and business dealings. For many, it was a betrayal of trust. Rick had presented himself as a hard-working, honest entrepreneur, someone who turned the family business into a global phenomenon. Yet, as more skeletons emerged from the closet, it became clear that the empire was not as solid as it seemed. Stories of financial exploitation, manipulation of employees, and exploitation of his celebrity status painted a picture far removed from the charismatic negotiator who charmed the world. The most devastating revelation was that Rick's empire had been a house of cards, built on shaky ethical grounds. The image of a thriving business and loving family masked the growing toxicity within his empire. From legal missteps to strained relationships, everything Rick had built now seemed tainted. Former friends and colleagues accused him of greed and betrayal, claiming he prioritized personal gain over loyalty and trust. The betrayals stung all the more because they came from those Rick had relied on most, further isolating him in the wake of his downfall. As Rick Harrison's life unraveled publicly, it became a lesson in the perils of fame and unchecked ambition. The fame he had so carefully cultivated turned against him, with every scandal, accusation, and revelation splashed across headlines. The very empire that elevated him to stardom had become a millstone around his neck, dragging him down in front of the very audience that had once adored him. What had once seemed like an indomitable legacy now stood as a cautionary tale, a reminder that every action has consequences, and no amount of charm or success can shield one from the truth. Rick's legacy, once defined by his business acumen and television charm, is now overshadowed by scandal and betrayal. His empire, built on rare treasures and larger-than-life deals, has crumbled under the weight of secrets and ethical lapses. Fans, colleagues, and the public at large are left grappling with the image of a man who had seemed untouchable, only to realize he was all too human, flawed, ambitious, and ultimately undone by his own hand. His story serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of success and the price of living in the spotlight. For Rick Harrison, the pawn shop king, his reign is over, and the legacy he leaves behind is far more complex and cautionary than he could have ever anticipated. Rick Harrison's empire lay irreparably damaged as the hidden truths about the famed pawn shop king finally came to light. The public's trust, once the foundation of his success, crumbled alongside his legacy. Fans who had cheered him on for years now found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about the man behind Pawn Stars. The persona Rick had so carefully built, the wise, charming, and fair businessman, was exposed as a facade. As more revelations surfaced, it became clear that his fall from grace was just beginning. Rick Harrison had always thrived in the public eye, his charisma, quick wit, and knowledge of rare collectibles making him the face of a global phenomenon. Yet, when the skeletons in his closet were exposed, the public's adoration turned into anger and disbelief. The backlash was swift and merciless. Fans, once captivated by his on-screen charm, now saw a man whose integrity and business practices were deeply flawed. The revelations of fraud, manipulation, and shady dealings shattered the illusion of the honest entrepreneur, leaving his supporters grappling with betrayal. The relentless wave of negative publicity was not just limited to his fans. It permeated the media and his personal relationships. News outlets eagerly seized on each new revelation, while social media platforms buzzed with outrage. What had once been a carefully curated public image was now marred by controversy, and Rick's social media accounts were flooded with messages of disappointment and anger. Advertisers withdrew their support, and even the network behind Pawn Stars began to distance itself from him, further isolating Rick and marking the end of an era for the once-beloved reality star. Rick's downfall extended beyond the court of public opinion. It reached deep into his inner circle, where the most painful betrayals occurred. Trusted business partners, once his closest allies, began leaking damaging information about his personal and professional life. Allegations of unethical practices and mismanagement surfaced, shattering the foundation of trust on which his empire was built. The very individuals who had contributed to his success turned against him, some even pursuing legal action that deepened his isolation. What once seemed like a cohesive and loyal team dissolved into a fractured group eager to expose Rick's darkest secrets. Even within his personal life, the cracks began to show. Family members and friends who had once supported him now found themselves distancing from the fallout or reluctantly speaking out against him. This sense of betrayal on both professional and personal fronts left Rick isolated, forcing him to face the consequences of his actions alone. The man who had once been surrounded by admiration and loyalty now found himself grappling with a reality where trust and support had vanished. As Rick's empire faded into the annals of history, so too did his reign as a reality TV star. The future of Pawn Stars grew uncertain, its reputation irreparably linked to the controversies surrounding its central figure. Would the show carry on without him, or would it join the ranks of forgotten relics? Only time would tell. For now, the story of Rick Harisson serves as a sobering reminder of the costs of unchecked ambition, misplaced trust, and the fleeting nature of fame. What lessons can be learned from his rise and fall? Was Rick's fate deserved? Or was his story far more complex than the public ever saw? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the most shocking celebrity downfalls.